The USS Jason Dunham carries the name of a man who made the most irreversible decision a human being can make. Corporal Jason Dunham of the United States Marine Corps threw himself on a grenade in Iraq in 2004. He saved 2 fellow Marines. He received the Medal of Honor posthumously 23 years later. The destroyer that bears his name was about to demonstrate that same kind of courage under fire. At 15:41 local time, in the Persian Gulf, a medium-range ballistic missile, a Sajil-2, struck the forward superstructure of the Jason Dunham, the most advanced weapon Iran had ever fired at an American warship. Not a near miss, not fragmentation damage, a direct hit. The attack nearly destroyed a United States destroyer. It killed 11 sailors. It should have killed more. What happened in the 33 minutes that followed would demonstrate American military power in its most devastating and most total form. The response was not retaliation, it was elimination. To understand what the Jason Dunham faced, you need to understand the weapon that hit it. The Sajil-2 is solid-fueled, 2-stage, with a range of roughly 2,000 kilometers and a warhead weighing 650 kilograms. It was designed to strike Israel. It was designed to carry nuclear payloads if Iran ever developed them. Nobody expected Iran to spend the Sajil-2 on a single destroyer. That miscalculation nearly cost the Jason Dunham everything. The missile launched from deep inside Iranian territory, 380 kilometers from the coastline. At that range, it climbed above 150 kilometers before descending at speeds exceeding Mach 10. The ship's Spy-1D radar detected the launch at 15 hours 35 minutes and 47 seconds. The system immediately classified the threat as ballistic, computed the trajectory, and determined the ship was in the impact zone. Time to impact, approximately 340 seconds. 5.5 minutes. 5 minutes sounds like a long time when you say it out loud. Against a missile traveling at Mach 10, it is almost nothing. Captain Jennifer Santos faced the same fundamental problem that every American commander had faced in the earlier engagements. The Aegis system was not optimized for theater ballistic missiles of this class. The Jason Dunham carried SM-6 missiles capable of engaging ballistic targets in their terminal phase, but the Sajil-2 was coming in faster and steeper than any previous Iranian weapon. At 15 hours 36 minutes and 22 seconds, Captain Santos authorized weapons release. 4 SM-6 missiles launched in rapid succession, the maximum engagement package against a single threat. At 15 hours 38 minutes and 14 seconds, the first SM-6 reached its calculated intercept point. The Sajil-2 was not there. The missile's re-entry vehicle carried a maneuvering capability, the ability to adjust its trajectory during terminal descent. Not dramatically, but enough. Enough to evade an intercept calculated against a standard ballistic path. The SM-6 detonated. The Sajil-2 continued downward. At 15 hours 38 minutes and 31 seconds, the second SM-6 engaged at closer range. Fragments struck the re-entry vehicle's outer casing, causing damage, but the warhead inside remained intact. The missile kept falling. At 15 hours 38 minutes and 47 seconds, the third SM-6 engaged. Another proximity detonation, more fragmentation damage. The Sajil-2's guidance system failed, its maneuvering capability was destroyed. But the warhead was still intact, now falling on an unguided ballistic path. Still lethal. At 15 hours 39 minutes and 2 seconds, the fourth SM-6 engaged. It failed. The damaged re-entry vehicle was tumbling, its trajectory unpredictable. The SM-6 seeker could not track the erratic movement. The missile passed 80 meters from the target. The Phalanx close-in weapons system engaged at 15 hours 40 minutes and 34 seconds. Some rounds connected. The already damaged re-entry vehicle broke apart, but the warhead, 650 kilograms of high explosive in a hardened casing, kept falling, spinning, unguided, but aimed well enough.
At 15 hours, 41 minutes and 7 seconds, the Schedule 2 warhead struck the USS Jason Dunham.
The impact point was the forward superstructure, the section that housed the bridge, the combat information center, and the ship's primary command spaces. The detonation was catastrophic. 650 kilograms of explosive, more than 4 times the warhead of the anti-ship missiles used in the earlier engagements, detonated inside the command section of the ship. The bridge was destroyed instantly, everyone inside it, the officer of the deck, the helmsman, the boatswain's mate, the lookouts, dead in the first second.
The combat information center was directly below the bridge. The explosion penetrated the deck. More deaths, more destruction. Captain Santos was in the CIC when the missile hit. She was killed instantly. Her last order had been weapons release. Her last decision had saved part of her crew, but not all of them.
11 sailors died in the first 30 seconds. Lieutenant Commander David Wilson, the executive officer, Lieutenant Sarah Chen, the tactical action officer, Chief Petty Officer Michael Thompson, and 8 others whose names would be read aloud at memorial services across America. 19 more were wounded, some critically.
The Jason Dunham was gutted forward. Fire roared through the command spaces. Smoke poured from the holes where the bridge windows had been. The ship was listing, taking water through breaches in the hull, but it was not sinking. The Arleigh-Burke class is engineered to survive damage, compartmentalization, redundant systems, damage control capacity distributed throughout the hull. The Jason Dunham had lost its captain, its executive officer, its bridge, and its primary command center. It had not lost its ability to float or to fight. Lieutenant James Park was the senior surviving officer. He was at the aft damage control station when the missile hit, the point furthest from the impact. He assumed command at 15:43. He was 27 years old. He had been in the Navy for 4 years. He had never commanded anything larger than a damage control team. Now he commanded a burning destroyer with 11 dead, 19 wounded, and a decision to make. There is something about that moment that stays with you when you think about it. 27 years old, the ship on fire around him, no one above him left alive. Most people will never face anything remotely like that. And yet, there is something in that kind of pressure, something that makes you wonder what you would actually do if it were you standing in that passageway, smoke in your lungs, and a handset in your hand. At 15:45, Park established communication with Fifth Fleet using the ship's backup satellite system. His report was the bleakest any American commander had transmitted since the Cole bombing. Jason Dunham struck by ballistic missile. Captain Santos, dead. X, O, dead. Bridge destroyed. CIC, destroyed. 11 KIA, confirmed. 19 wounded. Ship damaged but afloat. I have assumed command. Awaiting instructions. Vice Admiral Richardson received the report at 15:47. He had been tracking the engagement in real time. He had watched the Schedule 2 launch, watched the intercept attempts, watched the impact. He knew that Jason Dunham had been hit hard before Park's report arrived. What he did not know was whether the ship would survive the next hour or whether the Iranians were preparing a follow-on strike. At 15:48, Richardson ordered all available assets to the Jason Dunham's position. The cruiser USS Monterey was 40 miles to the south. It could provide air defense coverage. The destroyer USS Meacher was 60 miles to the west. It could assist with damage control and casualty evacuation. But defense was not the only consideration. 11 American sailors were dead. The commanding officer of a United States warship was dead. Iran's most sophisticated missile had scored a direct hit on an American ship. The response needed to be unlike anything that had come before. At 15:51, Richardson convened an emergency targeting session with Central Command. The target list that emerged went beyond anything previously approved. Primary targets: the Schedule 2 production facility near Tehran, the missile storage complex at Khorramabad, the launch command center that had authorized the attack. Secondary targets: Iran's 3 remaining operational Sejil-2 mobile launchers. Intelligence had tracked them for years. Now they would be destroyed. Tertiary targets: the ballistic missile test range at Semnan, the guidance research facility that had developed the maneuverable re-entry vehicle. This was not proportional response. This was elimination.
At 1558, the White House was notified. At 1602, the National Security Council approved. At 1608, the execute order was transmitted. Operation Final Response. The assets were global. 4 B-2 Spirit stealth bombers, already airborne from Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, were diverted from a training mission. They carried 64 JDAM guided munitions and 8 massive ordnance penetrator GBU-57 bombs. 2 B-52s and 2 B-1Bs operating from Diego Garcia carried 96 AGM-158 JASSM cruise missiles, standoff weapons capable of striking from 370 kilometers, keeping the bombers well clear of Iranian air defenses. The guided missile submarines USS Ohio and USS Georgia launched 48 Tomahawk cruise missiles, and the carrier air wing of the USS Gerald R. Ford, 44 FA-18E Super Hornets, 5 EA-18G Growlers, and 4 E-2D Hawkeyes launched the largest carrier strike mission since Operation Iraqi Freedom. Total assets committed: 6 bombers, 53 tactical aircraft, 48 cruise missiles. Total targets: 9 facilities across western and central Iran. At 16:14, 33 minutes after the Sejil-2 hit the Jason Dunham, the first weapons were released. The Tomahawks went first. 48 missiles targeting the most time-sensitive objectives, the mobile Sejil-2 launchers that could relocate before the bombers arrived. Those launchers had been tracked by satellite. Their positions were known to within 10 meters. The Tomahawks did not miss. At 16:42, Iran's 3 remaining mobile Sejil-2 launchers, the last of their strategic strike capability, were destroyed simultaneously. The vehicles, the missiles, the crews, all of it. At 16:51, the B-52s reached their launch point and fired their JASSMs from well outside Iranian air defense range. 96 precision weapons converged on the missile storage complex at Khorramabad. The complex was hardened, underground bunkers, reinforced concrete. The JASSMs were not designed to crack bunkers, but they were designed for saturation. 96 impacts inside a 90-second window. The above-ground facilities were obliterated, the access tunnels collapsed, the ventilation shafts destroyed. Whatever was inside those bunkers would stay there. At 17:04, the B-2 Spirits reached their targets. The production facility near Tehran received the massive ordnance penetrator bombs, 30,000-pound weapons designed to reach targets 200 feet underground. The facility that manufactured Iran's most advanced missiles ceased to exist. The production lines, the test equipment, the engineers, all of it. The guidance research facility at Semnan received 32 JDAMs. The scientists who had developed the maneuverable re-entry vehicle, the technology that had allowed the Sejil-2 to defeat 4 SM-6 interceptors, died with their research. The ballistic missile test range received the remaining weapons: launch platforms, tracking facilities, control bunkers. The infrastructure that had built Iran's strategic missile program over 3 decades was destroyed in 3 minutes. At 17:18, the carrier aircraft arrived. The Super Hornets had the most dangerous assignment: attacking the launch command center outside Tehran. This facility was heavily defended, the nerve center of Iran's strategic forces. The Growlers led the assault, their jamming pods overwhelming the air defenses. HARM missiles targeted any radar that dared to radiate. The Super Hornets followed. The first wave cratered the surface. The second wave collapsed the structures. The third wave penetrated the underground levels. The officers who had authorized the strike on the Jason Dunham, who had ordered a strategic missile fired at a single destroyer, were buried in the rubble of their own command post. At 17:31, the last American aircraft cleared Iranian airspace. Operation Final Response was complete. The damage assessment took weeks to compile fully. The summary was simple. Iran's strategic ballistic missile program was destroyed. Production facilities gone. Research facilities gone. Storage complexes gone. Mobile launchers gone. Command infrastructure gone. Estimated Iranian casualties, 800 to 1,200 personnel, a large number of them senior scientists, engineers, and military officers. Expertise that had taken decades to develop. The Schedule 2 program, in which Iran had invested billions expecting it to provide strategic deterrence against Israel and leverage against the United States, was gone. Not degraded, gone. The Jason Dunham was towed to Bahrain. The damage was severe, but not irreparable. The ship spent 14 months in dry dock before returning to service. Captain Jennifer Santos and the other 10 sailors who died were buried with full military honors. The Jason Dunham received the Presidential Unit Citation, the highest unit award in the American military. Lieutenant James Park received the Navy Cross for his actions following the impact. The 27-year-old, who had assumed command of a burning destroyer, went on to command his own ship 4 years later. The diplomatic aftermath was unlike anything that had preceded it. Iran did not simply condemn the strikes. They threatened total war, mobilized reserves, moved forces along the Iraqi border. For 72 hours, the world held its breath. Then Iran stepped back. Their strategic missile program was gone. Their ability to threaten American forces, Israel, or Saudi Arabia was eliminated. Fighting a conventional war against the United States with nothing but tactical weapons would be suicide. They negotiated instead. The talks took 8 months. The result was a ceasefire that ended the Gulf confrontation, at least for the time being. Iran agreed to suspend anti-ship operations. The United States agreed to reduce its naval presence. Both sides claimed victory. But the arithmetic was plain. Iran had fired a strategic missile at an American warship and killed 11 sailors. In response, the United States had destroyed their entire strategic missile program. Decades of work, billions of dollars, thousands of personnel. The exchange rate was catastrophic for Tehran. 33 minutes. That is how long it took the United States to go from taking a hit to launching the most destructive strike campaign against Iran in history. That speed, that scale, that completeness is why American warships sail where they choose, and why adversaries spend a very long time calculating before they attack one. The Jason Dunham is back at sea now. It carries a new crew and a new captain. It carries the name of a man who understood that sometimes courage means accepting the unthinkable. The ship's motto traces back to Corporal Dunham's last reported words before he covered that grenade. "I am fine." He was not fine. Neither was the ship that bears his name on the day it took that hit, but both survived. And in war, survival is the first victory. Whether that exchange, 11 lives, 1 destroyer, for the end of Iran's strategic missile program was worth the cost, is a question that does not have a clean answer. Historians will argue it for a long time, so might you, if you think about it long enough.